Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host, tuning in from my new space. It's a little bit empty and echoey in here right now, but this will become the temple. And especially in time for this new exciting offering that is in the works for November 10th, Temple of Lilith. Now, in this video, we're exploring the different steps along the way, the arc of consciousness of Lilith. Because Lilith is wildly misunderstood. And I get it. Because when it comes to our sexual energy, our eroticism, our aliveness, our seductiveness, there can be so much distortion. This is why there is the most distortion around sexuality than anything else, because it is so powerful. And if we were to reclaim that and integrate it and heal it and come back into the wholeness of who we are as erotic beings, I personally believe we would be living in, a very healed world, a completely different world. We can trace so much of our deep, deep pain as human beings to this exile from who we are as erotic beings, and not just as sexual beings. More on that perhaps in a different video, or if you join one of my containers. Actually, recently we went deeper into this in my 5-day pleasure challenge, Forbidden Fruit. The replays are available with lifetime access for all 5 live sessions. So if you want that, check the link in the description. I'm going to have that in there as well as the temple link. Now, Lilith, explored as an archetype, as an energy, as a consciousness, beyond the myth, she is often painted as a phase where we just go nuts, we go off the rails, we go completely unleashed, and we're just like rabid with sexual hunger, and we're fucking everything in sight, and we have full permission to do anything that we just even have an impulse to do. And I'm here to tell you that that is not who Lilith is. She has been coming in hot and heavy very recently. But I have been working with this consciousness for many years now. And before I even knew who she was or what she really symbolized awakening in me, she was the one calling me back home to myself. Now, mythologically, Lilith is the first woman. She is the one that was originally with Adam in the mythology, in the story. In even the actual Bible, there are 2 accounts of creation. There is God created man and woman, and then there is an account of God creating man and then creating woman from his rib. So whether this is factually correct or not is beside the point. We're working with the consciousness of this here, okay? So let's put the whole that whole bit to the side and just come into this with an open mind as to how this consciousness can be powerful in your life. Okay, so in that story, Adam did not allow Lilith to be on top during sex. He wanted to dominate her. Now look, I'm all for submission and domination. I love that kind of play. I love that shit. You know that I do. If you've heard me talk about my kinks and all that stuff, check back on that podcast episode with Kimmy Inch if you want to hear more on kinks and all that good yummy stuff. But Adam did not want her to be an equal. That was symbolic for him needing her to be subdued, for him needing her to diminish who she was, her bigness, her aliveness, her hunger, her desire, her longing, and her power. Of course, power can be have a lot loaded meaning to it, but he needed her subdued, and he needed to be in domination. So she said, no, honey, no, peace, I'm going to go straight to hell. I'm going to go fuck all the demons and make a bunch of little demon babies, and they're all going to eat your human babies. That was the mythology, okay? Yeah, so Lilith did go off the rails. She went completely off the rails in the story. To the point, right, that she is procreating with the supposed enemy, but she was exiled. She wasn't at first. She left by choice, but then she was exiled as the evil one. Definitely not welcome to come back, no? So then there was another woman, maid, who was more agreeable, compliant, submissive. Now, Eve as an archetype has a ton of beautiful gifts of the light feminine, but we're not exploring that in this. In this story, this is the contrast between the socially acceptable feminine that Eve represents and the exiled whore that Lilith represents. And so knowing this story, right, you hear this story and it's like, man, Lilith, she's not a good one. She is anti-human. She's eating up all the human babies with their little demon babies. And she is basically giving a big fuck you to Adam and going in the opposite direction of just complete vengeance, revenge, getting hers, right? Now she needs to lord power over. So this is in one of the distinct stages of the arc of the Lilith consciousness, but this is not where it ends. Because the consciousness of Lilith is ultimately, in her integration, in her embodiment, in her real deep, big power, she is a woman who belongs to herself. And beneath that, she is a woman who belongs to creation, to life, to that love from which all creation comes. So she is not a phase. When women are like, oh yeah, I went through my Lilith phase back when I went through my sexual awakening and I just became polyamorous and went to all the sex parties. Honey, no. Are you for real? I mean, I get it. Again, we just don't understand. We don't understand her. That's why I'm bringing her into this space, and that's why I'm creating a whole thing just about allowing her consciousness to come through you in a really profound, palpable, practical way. Okay, so when you hear a woman say, it's like when women say, that dark feminine is all about manipulation and control and again, going off the rails, being out of control, being unruly, being an emotional storm, and then just being like, oh, I'm just in my dark feminine. No, honey, you are in your feminine shadow, in your immature feminine. Don't bring that into this conversation about the dark feminine. That is not who she is. All right, and Lilith is an expression of the dark feminine. She's one of the archetypes, one of the key archetypes that I have worked with, the first one and the one that I work with the most. So she is not a phase. I cannot emphasize that enough. I want to extract that little belief, whoop, and just pop it over here, throw it in the garbage. Okay, maybe you went through a season in your life of sexual openness, sexual liberation. It is not the same as erotic liberation. Now we go into the sexual to heal and liberate the erotic, because the sexual mimics the erotic so closely, but it was never meant to carry the full weight of our need for eros. So Lilith comes to teach us how to integrate eros into the fabric of our lives, how to weave it into everything, because it exists in everything. So really it's about not weaving it in so much as it is becoming aware of how it is woven into the entire tapestry of your life, in every single area of life, into your business, into your health, into the way that you mother your children. Not just in the way you make love, not just in the way you show up in the bedroom. So in her first stage, Lilith is dormant. I'm taking off my shoes now. We're getting real here, okay. Lilith is dormant. She has left the garden, let's say in yourself, right? Because she's not full in her fury like, fuck you, Adam. That comes later, okay? In you today, a woman in this modern world, many of you watching this, either are in this point now or have experienced this, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where the Lilith in you is dormant because there is no safe space for her to exist. So this is the feeling of, okay, this part there's no space for this in my life. And what does the psyche do when there is no space for something because it is unsafe? When anything is unsafe, it will do whatever it takes to keep you safe and alive. And that includes being accepted, because being part of the tribe was literal survival, hardwired into our bodies in our early human days design, right? So we still have that. So if it is not safe for Lilith to be expressed, for her to just even be in the room, She's going to go to sleep. Okay, she's going to be dormant. This is where a lot of women will say, man, I feel so numb. I feel numb to my aliveness. I remember, let's say when I was with my partner at first and she would just touch me or breathe on me or look at me and I would just feel that aliveness. And this is more than just new relationship energy, honey. This is you connected to your own aliveness because that person didn't make you feel that. They activated something in you and reflected it back to you, what was already there. It was already just sitting there dormant. Okay, so that dormant stage is a question of safety. You don't yet know what you are missing because this part of you has been asleep. And then, as you begin to wake up to the fact that, oh my God, I see this girl dancing on Instagram and it makes me feel some things. It makes me feel a little cringe. It makes me feel like I maybe want that for myself too. I want to feel like that in my body. I want to move like that in my body. Because she looks like she knows that she's fucking hot. And you'll either get jealous or it will activate something fully of like, that's for me. I am that bitch too. I see myself in her, and that is me too, and I will do whatever it takes to reclaim myself and come home to myself. So, in this stage, this is where you discover that you have been abandoning yourself. So you go from being oblivious, numb, disconnected, not sure like what's missing, but feeling like something is missing, and then you become aware of what that is. So this is the exiled. The exiled thought is something in me is wrong. So in this stage, we're not quite going full throttle into the, okay, I'm reclaiming this yet, but where that desire of reclaiming it is being sparked. You follow? So this is the exiled state, the exiled Lilith. Something in me is broken. So now I have been made aware that I am not connected to my sexual energy, that I am not connected to my erotic aliveness in or outside of my sexuality. And fuck, something in me is wrong, that I want this, or that I desire to just feel sexy in the most surface level. That is the most surface level there. That desire to feel sexually vibrant. And then beneath that desire to feel connected to the source of all life itself, to be on the inside of creation, as described in that book, A Return to Eros. To feel the heart of aliveness itself. Something in me is wrong. And that is the core, the underlying, the undertone of the energy there. And so there, you're still more concerned about obedience over truth. You're still concerned about being palatable or likable, maybe still performing in the bedroom, in your workplace, in your life, publicly. You're still not completely free to follow your heart and explore your desires. Now, this is where things get interesting because there does come a point, there comes the breaking, that breaking point where you say, no one will ever have this power over me again. And that is the point where we pick up Lilith in her story, in the mythology, is she was like, fuck this shit. No, fuck this, fuck you, fuck it all, peace out. And no one is ever gonna have power over me again. But you see, the thing about this, babe, is that you're still not free. When you are rebelling against, something else is still controlling, dictating how you are being. And so, you are still heavy in the pushing against, resisting against, trying to prove, trying to overcompensate. This is where some of the perhaps over-sexualization happens. Because now it's like, no, I am a sexual being and look at me. And this is not wrong. Again, this is part of the arc of the consciousness of Lilith. We can't just skip over it. Okay, this is gonna happen to you in some degree, in some form, in some way. You might not be as big and loud about it on your Instagram like I was some years back, but it's gonna happen in some way where there is that sense of wanting to be seen in some way, again, and validated as a sexual being in your sexual expression. To say like, look at this. It's too much for you, huh? Fuck you then. Like that. She's the rebel. And we love this rebel too, by the way. We're not making her bad. There is space for her to exist. Isn't there, babe? My little Scorpio rising. Stirring from her nap between sleep cycles. So in that space, she is still not completely free to just be. She still has something to prove, but she is becoming awakened, and she's coming alive. And that feeling of feeling so alive is better than anything before that she has felt in relation to her sexuality and her pleasure and her aliveness and her vibrance, and she's just on fire. There's this fire, there's this very sharp edge that she gets to explore. Because she has been numb for so long, she aches for the edge. And she goes there. She will go there. She will take you there. This is where a lot of women are resistant to this flavor of their awakening, because they feel, and I've had this question so many times over the years from women, especially moms, married women with children, saying, okay, well, what happens when I have my full-on awakening? We'll call it sexual awakening, but let's call it the Lilith consciousness awakening. What happens? If I want too much, what happens if my desire and my hunger for sex is too much for my partner and he abandons me? Or he doesn't like me anymore, or he rejects me? Or he thinks that I'm just gonna be a hoe now? Or what if I feel like I just need to go sleep with everyone? What then? I can't go off the rails. I have responsibilities. I have a family. And look, I hear you. I feel you. Me too, girl. Me too. I had already 4 kids because my baby before this one, my fourth babe, he's almost 10 now. So I had some years, I already had four kids at the time that I had my Lilith awakening. And it was a fun one. Again, if you really want to go check it out, go deep into my Instagram profile, because she's still there. She's still there to be witnessed. But I'm telling you that it is a valid concern, and also when you go into this with the intention of connecting with the highest love, knowing that to get to that really expanded, ascended, cosmic love, God consciousness, you've got to go through the shadows, babe. You can't skip this. As above, so below. Your embodiment of your light will only be in proportion to your willingness and exploration and integration of the darkness. And when it comes to your sexuality and all things pleasure and eros, which again, eros is bigger than sex, but it's like an umbrella over sex. When you come home to that, it is like no other feminine awakening. None. I will say it. I will say it again and again. I will die on this hill. And maybe that's all my Scorpio and the big Scorpio energy right now that we're feeling, the depths and the fire of the depths, but also, yeah, you know what I mean, that fieriness, that like, audacity. We're feeling the audacity. Once you have reclaimed that, there's just nothing like it. You're going to feel the difference. And this is why in the next stage, in the awakening, we begin to know, to really know in our bones, okay, this fire is mine to steward. Okay, maybe I did go off the rails for a bit in some way, whatever that looks like for me. And I'm learning how to wield my fire. I'm learning how to anchor it in, how to ground it into the earth, so that it's no longer just a wildfire out of control, but it is magma. It's in the ground, it's deep in the earth. It's connected with the consciousness of the mother. Oh, this is where it gets really good, y'all. It is deeply embedded into the mother consciousness. So you have basically Mother Lilith, okay? And she is there to celebrate and welcome and nurture and just, yes, child, to every single part of you. Especially the part of like, yes, you get to have pleasure. Yes, you get to enjoy your desires. Yes, you get to trust that love is guiding you in every single step of the way, and that if there's any fear that creeps in, just keep refocusing on love. Keep refocus. Lock in on love. And bloop, I see you, fear, but I'm not going to follow you and whatever it is that you're telling me or urging me to do. And if there's one thing that I would highly advise you to keep coming back to throughout every single step of awakening, not only in this Lilith consciousness, but in any whatsoever. Sorry, there's something in my eye here. It's dusty in this area. The wind just blows right from the mountains. It is to do that. To keep coming back to this practicing the awareness of, is this coming from love or is this coming from fear? And if it's coming from fear, then kindly redirect yourself and ask, okay, where is the love in this? What would love have me do? And in this stage of awakening where you realize that the fire is yours to steward, you begin to realize that, okay, it doesn't always have to be that wildfire. That when you do ground it into the earth, it becomes more powerful. And you're able to channel it better. You're able to drive it like the finest car or vehicle of whatever sort of your choosing. That it is purposefully, powerfully, lovingly, but boldly, with audacity, right? Directed. So we go from this space of like, out of control, it's so intense, it's like, oh my God, I want, I need, I urge, I thirst, I hunger. And then it's like, oh, you land into yourself. You land into the deeper, richer, the womb wisdom of Lilith and how she moves in you intentionally, deliberately, more methodically, slowly. She's not trying to bite everyone's head off anymore because she realizes I don't have anything to prove anymore. And I'm starting to become more comfortable in that fact and letting myself just be a little bit more. Still having these moments of like, you know what? Oh, still fuck you over there for thinking this and this about me. But she's starting in this stage to feel more comfortable in her own skin, in her newly reclaimed skin. And then what happens is we step into the initiated Lilith, who says, I belong to myself. The Lilith who has stopped outsourcing her sexual aliveness to the number of partners that she has, to the types of encounters that she has with other people, to her needs being fulfilled sexually by any person. Now, if this is a matter of sexual compatibility in a committed partnership, this is a different conversation piece that we're not having in this video, okay? But I'm happy to have it with you if I support you personally. Happy to work through that with you if we're working one-on-one or with you and your partner. But for the sake of this video, for the arc of the Lilith consciousness, this is where she fully lands into the knowing in the cells of her body, not just up here in her mind, of I am fully alive in myself. I am fully connected. I have full access to every bit of aliveness that I have hungered for, every bit of aliveness that I have numbed and shut off, shut down. I have access to it now. And so anything else, it's not I don't need a man, I don't need you, I'm fully hyper-independent. It's not that bullshit. That's also a distortion. But she is so in fullness. She has so much fullness of life, of erotic energy, which is, again, it's that aliveness of like, feeling myself. You know how sometimes you might just be feeling yourself after you take a long shower? It's that. It's that feeling of, I missed me. I missed me. Haven't felt like me. That's why so many moms struggle postpartum, because they miss who they were, not realizing that who they were was not even really them to begin with. It's about really exploring and reclaiming these parts of themselves that they now especially don't feel they have permission to be, because now they're moms and they need to be a certain way. Don't even get me started on that soapbox. Because honey, look, she's not even 3 months old, but she is very much a part of my work already. She'd be all up in my workshops and the podcast episodes. And she came in as a Scorpio rising, so I believe that, that was no coincidence there. But in this sense of belonging to yourself, you welcome all that will amplify love in ways that are in integrity with who you are and what your soul is here to do and what your heart deeper desires are. So there is no grasping. There's no begging, there's no chasing, there's no convincing, there's no persuading anyone, romantic or not, business, clients, friendships, family members. You are not begging, chasing, persuading anyone to choose you because you already fully belong to yourself. Do you feel that? Like, just let that land for a moment. It makes me just want to cry when I take someone into that space of remembering that, because I remember what it felt like to not have that. And when you remember, there's this grief that can come up too of like, oh my God, it's been so long. I have missed this. I have missed the aliveness. I've missed myself. I've missed my heart. I've missed that soulful part of me. And Lilith will not let anything get in the way of that, because think about the ways that we abandon ourselves, often in the context of not wanting to be abandoned by someone else. And if there's anyone, it's especially in a romantic context, okay? Think about that, especially in a romantic context, which is very tied into the sexual context. So if there's anyone, any archetype of the feminine, dark feminine, that will just not stand for that, and take a stand for you, it's Lilith. She's like, take my hand, daughter, sister, friend. Let me help you remember who you are. Because this little girl trying to please other people and minimizing her needs and swallowing her truth and silencing her voice, she's not it. That's not you. That's not who you are. That was a coping mechanism that helped you to survive this and this and this, and now that is expired, and you are ready to become a woman, baby. Baby. You're ready to become a woman, okay? A full-blown, grown-ass woman who belongs to herself. And finally, we have the stage of sovereign. I am the temple. I am the temple. Now, in her sovereignty, Lilith has no need to lord power over others. She evokes the power from others so that they can step into their kingdom, right? Women and men. Because what she does, she is, without even efforting to be, naturally she is a seductress. But not in the ways that we have been taught that a seductress is. A seductress in the distorted form is one who is trying to manipulate someone else. I'm going to use my powers of allure and magnetism, blah, 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 to get you to do what I want you to do based on my agenda and my ego-centered, maybe fear, scarcity, lack-based desires. But a seductress in service to love, a seductress who has integrated her darkness, oh my God, that shit is powerful, because you know what she will do? She will seduce the light to awaken in all the people who are in her field. But first, what tends to happen is she will awaken their shadows. She will awaken their awareness of their own darkness. And this is why, if you are called to work with Lilith, be prepared to, at some degree, digest other people's, the energy that is projected onto you from other people's judgments, jealousy, past wounds. You're not absorbing their shit. No, you're digesting, because they're throwing this energy at you. Oh, who does she think she is? Why is she being so sexual? And you're taking that, and as soon as it just lands anywhere in your field, love diffuses it and alchemizes it into that pure love. Nothing but love is allowed in your field, dark or light, because there's a lot of love and darkness, let me tell you. And so, as you are in your sovereign Lilith, just by your being, not even by what you do, that's bonus. That's bonus, bitch. Just by your being, you are activating the remembrance in others in a way that also feels nurturing, and it confuses people. And they're like, what is this? Because it looks taboo. It looks like it shouldn't be allowed. Oh, but I feel so much love from it. I feel so much truth from it. And it goes against so much that I have been taught and programmed to believe. So be patient. Witness. Observe. This is what I would call just a synopsis of the arc of consciousness of Lilith. Because to think that she is just a phase of us going off the rails in our sex lives is offensively misjudging who Lilith is. But then on the other hand, Lilith in her sovereignty, she doesn't care. She just witnesses that. She's like, oh, you just didn't see me. You just haven't met me yet. She's not mad that you misjudged her. She's just like, let me show you. And if you want to experience more of this, powerful consciousness, healing, integration, remembrance in your life, in your feminine embodiment, and this next era of awakening, I invite you to join me for Temple of Lilith, because this is going to be a power-packed precursor to any of this that is unfolding in your life. It's a space where we can play, share, express, where no part of you has to become smaller to be digestible. And being in these spaces, being in the frequency of these spaces is if you haven't experienced it, there's nothing like it. You can do this in a self-paced way. You can watch a video, you can learn, you can get all the knowledge up here, but you need to experience it and allow space, claim your space, and decide that you're going to take up more space to allow this consciousness to really drop in and work you. Let it work you on it, because she's going to work you. Okay. All right, I'm gonna wrap there, because I could go on and on. You know I could. This is my season. This is our season, little fellow Scorpio witchy sisters. So if you want to join, check out the link in my bio, and there is a sliding scale option available for those who are needing some extra financial support at this time and are really ready to join this temple. So check out the bio the description in this podcast episode for more on Forbidden Fruit, my recent 5-day challenge, as well as Temple of Lilith. And in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. This is the longest one I've done yet on the podcast platform. And here is to your wild, liberated, feminine journey.